As we look at an agile lifestyle and applying personal agility, there's many benefits that we can take from what we've seen work in IT and product development and go far beyond that. I'd like to go ahead and invite you to tweet throughout this presentation at Maria Matarelli and use the hashtags personal agility and hashtag agile lifestyle. Feel free to throw in a hashtag agile or hashtag scrum as well. I'd like to start by sharing a little bit about my background. Does this picture look familiar to any of you? Sitting in a cubicle, working in a cubicle, and I remember back when I was a project manager, I always wanted more. I wanted to do something impactful. Even if I think back to college, I used to think, what is it that defines me as a person? What company should I work with? Oh, this matters so much. Like, where do I work? What do I do? And I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I thought, you know what? Let me just start somewhere and, make any changes as I go. And maybe this won't be the same job that I always work in the rest of my life, and kind of iterate from there, if you will. And as I started working, I quickly began to wonder how I could make a bigger impact. How is it that I could really do something that was meaningful? When I think back to high school, I actually started working when I was a senior in high school. I started working at Caterpillar Incorporated, which is a very large Fortune 100 company. They build all of the large yellow tractors and off-highway trucks, and they're a global organization. Their headquarters is in central Illinois, a couple hours south of Chicago. And I remember thinking, okay, this is kind of neat. And I proceeded to work 3 jobs to pay my way through school. And I started working in a cube. And when I became a project manager, I started to explore Six Sigma, working at CAT, how to improve quality, reduce defects, streamline processes. And then I went over to State Farm Insurance. Their corporate headquarters is in Bloomington, Illinois, a little bit south of Chicago as well. And again, I was managing these projects, and I wasn't really feeling I felt like I could do more, And everything was kind of the same day in and day out. Now, there was a turning point that happened in my life. It was probably a few years out of college. I was going into work, managing these large projects, and I found myself struggling to get out of bed in the morning. Have you ever felt that way? Go ahead and type something into the chat if you can remember a day where you felt like, you know what, the struggle is so real right now. I'm not sure what I can do. And I actually started popping these 5-hour energy shots to get out of bed in the morning. Now, that's a little extreme. People normally will take a 5-hour energy in the afternoon, maybe before going to the gym, but I literally would keep one of these by my bedstand. I would reach over before I even opened my eyes, grab the bottle, and take the shot in order to get a boost of energy to wake up. Now, let's just say that doesn't sound like a very meaningful, wonderful day to look forward to when you have to take an energy drink in the morning just to get out of bed. Now, here's a pro tip for you. If you break the seal the night before, then your feeble hands can open the seal when you just woke up and you can't really move around much. So, what I realized was that I was starting to go in a little bit of a downward spiral and probably needed to make a change. Now, what was really cool about this approach, though, is I could get amazing parking spaces at work because I'd be rolling in around lunchtime. So people are leaving for lunch. I could park right up front. It was amazing. Now, that's terrible, I know. Now, because I was a consultant at State Farm, I still had to get my hours in to be billable. So I'd find myself rolling in at 10 or 11 and working till 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night, planning out my projects, managing them, update the schedule, going through resource leveling, and all the types of things that one would do when managing a large project. So here I am, rolling into work, not really feeling inspired. Have you ever felt that way? I mean, many of us, we dread Mondays. We, have these challenges. Now, there was a slight turning point that came when I won second place in an ugly sweater contest. Now, I kind of went all out in this outfit here, as you can see. It was around the holidays, so I threw in a little holiday flair. Now, I was, anyway, if you know me, I like anything that's a competition, a challenge, something that I can achieve or win. That's really a motivator for me, is accomplishment and achievement. So I really wanted to win, but there was a manager that wore a woman's v-neck lace sweater, and he kind of took first prize. And I can't argue with that. Now, for winning second prize in this ugly sweater contest, I won a beanbag chair, which was kind of cool. And what was even cooler is that, if they give me a beanbag chair in the office, that means I'm allowed to work from it, right? So I then scrounged up a second beanbag chair from one of our Agile teams. This is in Chicago, and began to work out of my beanbag chairs. Here I am, an Agile coach. I was often with the teams, but whenever I went back to the coaching room, I figured why not be comfortable so I can maximize my productivity. Now, it might have been slightly, I don't know, a step too far when I took my beanbag chair to meetings. I don't know, you tell me. Now, this was around the holidays, so most of the people were out of the office for the holidays. But, I felt like at this point I was starting to unravel a bit. Now, I had a phone call with a friend, and I said, I feel like my life is a little bit stagnant. I feel like I feel like maybe this is a cry for help. Like I'd been wearing, casual clothes. I'd been working out of a beanbag chair. I didn't really put a lot of effort into getting ready in the morning. And I thought, maybe this is a cry for help. And he said to me, he goes, Maria, this is a cry for help. I was like, really? I was like, how do you know? I think so too. And he said, Maria, you said the phrase cry for help 3 times in the last 3 minutes. Like, I think that you might need to make a change. I was like, all right, you're right. So the question is, how do you make a change? Change can be uncomfortable. What do you do next? How do you maximize your potential? One of the things that I wanted to do was, instead of going so deep, working at Caterpillar for 5 years, working at State Farm headquarters, systems technology department for 5 years, working in Chicago, consulting for a couple of years. Instead of going so deep into one company, I wanted to have an impact with many other companies. And so I started looking at opportunities to travel, to reach other people, to communicate with other people. And the way that I found that was through the platform of speaking. So I joined a Toastmasters group, which, if you may be familiar with, Toastmasters International is an international speaking organization. They have chapters worldwide. If you look at toastmasters.org, you can look up chapters in your area. And what this is a safe environment where you can practice speaking, where you can get comfortable and get feedback on how to improve. So I started going to this organization once a week, giving a presentation every week and getting feedback. And then I actually joined a second club and started going twice a week and giving presentations and getting feedback. Now, when you think about Agile and you think about iterations, think about how much you could improve if you did the same thing once or twice a week with targeted feedback that you're requesting. And think about how good you could get at something, how much you could improve by constantly iterating on something that's in your personal goals or life ambitions. So I found that speaking was an amazing platform that allowed me to step outside the cubicle walls, step outside the coaching room, step outside that one organization that I saw every day, and start to connect with people, and start to connect with people in many different locations. Now, as I looked at where I was and where I wanted to go, I felt like there was this huge gap, this huge disconnect. I had these general aspirations, but I wasn't really sure how to get there. Have you ever felt this way? Do you look at these ladders and have you ever felt, okay, I'm on this ladder at the left and I've climbed up here and I feel like I'm kind of maxed out where I am and I'm not sure how to get to that next level? It might feel like uncharted territory, a path that you haven't crossed before. And when things are unknown, and they can be uncomfortable, we might have uncertainty. So, what I'll share with you throughout this presentation are 3 tips for how you can step outside your comfort zone and step into an agile lifestyle. How you can bridge this gap from where you're at now, wherever you're at on that ladder on the left as you're climbing upward, and then that thought, that dream, that aspiration. When you see that ladder on the right, that's that thing that represents these ideas that you wish you could have. The things that you think, oh man, wouldn't it be nice if? These are those distant goals, those distant dreams that you may not even actually think is possible. And I'd like to share with you today how I had these dreams, these distant ideas, and was able to take these small, steady steps in an iterative, agile manner to get closer to that dream. In fact, sometimes I look back at that other ladder on the left, and I'm not quite sure how I made that leap. I'm like, man, how did that ladder not fall over? How did it not teeter and like fall off the wall? And it really comes with taking slow, steady steps and constantly iterating. I'd like to share with you more about how I continued this journey and how you can take this journey as well. So I was in Chicago, living downtown, Chicago, Michigan Avenue, right in the heart of the city. And I started by speaking, finding any opportunity to speak, because I believed that this could be a way that I could unlock doors, unlock new opportunities. Now, the first time I started speaking, I was so nervous. I felt like so many things were going wrong, like not in my mind, like I wanted to speak, but like my body did not agree with me. I felt my voice get shaky. I felt my physical hands get shaky as I lifted them up to make a hand gesture. I could feel sweat dripping down the side of my face. I didn't know why I was nervous. I didn't want to be nervous, but I was. Now, as time went on, I discovered that the more that I could step into those moments of being uncomfortable, that's where I would grow. That's where I could truly start to make an impact. That's where I could get to that next level. That was one step closer to that next ladder. So know that whatever it is you want to do, whatever goals you have, whatever dreams you have, I believe you can do it. I believed I could do things that I didn't truly fully comprehend how I would get there. But by having that belief and by having an abundant mindset of, hey, the world is ripe for me to step into it and be the best me that I can be. By believing that, by speaking positively, you can do it too. So go ahead and take a moment and think about what are your goals? What are the things that you want to achieve? What are the things that you're thinking, man, if only I could? Go ahead and take a moment and type those into the chat box. What are those distant aspirations? That second ladder. Think about that for a second. You don't even have to actually think that you can get there today, but what is that goal or aspiration or dream that you would truly love if that happened in your life? Go ahead and take a moment and type that in the chat. So I ended up heading down to Florida a few years back, and it was winter time. Now, let's talk about limiting beliefs for a moment. I've spent my entire life, up until a few years ago, living in the Midwest, just a little bit south of Chicago and then downtown Chicago. And let me tell you about those winters. They are cold. They are not comfortable, in fact. And I didn't know that there was any other option. I spent decades of my life dealing with these bitter, cold winters. Now, I went down to Florida a few years ago, and this is a snowman that I built on the beach. Yes, I did have help with this. But I believe that this beautiful snowman represents, now he's made out of sand, so maybe he's a sandman, sand snowman. I'm not sure what the proper term is. But this snowman brought joy to every single person that walked by him that day. I can tell you that. He might be internet famous in some circles. And what this represents is the possibility of not having to spend every winter in the cold, not having to live with the assumptions that you just assume have to be true because that's how things have always been. So I believe that when making a sand snowman on the beach in the middle of winter, when you're on the beach, that kind of shows that things are possible that might be completely different than things you ever thought. And it's just one small symbol. This little sand snowman just represents that you can challenge what your patterns have been, what has been going on in your life, and do things completely different and redefine it. As I was down in Florida, I started a business consulting group on the beach called Boardroom on the Beach. Because why not redefine the way that you live, the way that things happen? Why does a business meeting have to be inside a conference room with sterile white walls? Why can't it be on the beach overlooking this sunset? And let's push that boundary. So I started this group, Boardroom on the Beach, and started bringing together business owners and leaders to say, hey, how can we improve? What is it that you could do to grow? And this quickly graduated to a yearly cruise, the Boardroom Cruise. By the way, you're all invited. Boardroomcruise.com are the details. Alistair Coburn, one of the creators of the Agile Manifesto, actually joined us last year on this cruise. And the coolest part was I coordinated 10 cabins and we partnered with a group of over 400 other marketing professionals. And it was just an incredible opportunity to learn and grow. And conferences on cruise ships are now all the rage. So there's presentations on the days at sea, and then in between you go out on these islands and have these amazing excursions. And tell me, how much do you think that people can bond, can network? Is it sitting in a conference room? Or is it ziplining through the forest, tropical forest in Isla Rotan or Belize, right? So these are ideas that help push the boundary. So pushing the boundary into what's possible. Now we'll get back to this agile lifestyle concept in a moment, but I just want to show you some of the radical things that I've discovered over the last couple years that you can make happen if you simply say, how can I do this? What can I do? And how can I get there? And it starts with one iterative step forward. So I started working in Florida, anywhere with a Wi-Fi connection. This was a gym that had an outdoor pool. Like anywhere with a Wi-Fi connection can be an office. Consulting, training, speaking, going on site with clients. Why does one have to sit in an office? So when you think about the concept of an agile lifestyle and truly designing the life that you want, I'm not saying that you have to go as radical as I did. I actually got rid of my home 3 years ago. I've had no home for 3 years. I simply travel the world on one-way tickets on this insatiable mission to inspire people and make an impact. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that, but I want to challenge you on whatever that dream is that you typed in, whatever that distant aspiration is, you can get there. And if you can take the iterative steps, one steady step at a time, you can truly be agile in your lifestyle and achieve your goals incrementally. It can apply to anything outside of just IT, product development, software development, and all the other applications that we're used to seeing Agile done at. So as we look forward into the future and you're future focused, let's talk about what are the steps that you can do that can help you to have that more agile lifestyle, to embrace personal agility in everything that you're doing. The first place that you have to start is asking, where do you want to go? What is your destination? One of my most favorite quotes from Lewis Carroll is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Think about that for a moment. If you don't know where you're going, any road that you take is going to get you to that place that you don't know. If you have no direction, well, then what are you doing every day? And I spent years just working in the same job where I wasn't really sure what to do next. So I was just on that path with no destination. So once you can pinpoint that destination, that distant aspiration, when you know your destination, that can help you. That clarity is the first step to knowing where you want to go. Now, I want to take a moment here and point out that direction is more important than speed. If you're going the wrong way, if you don't know where you want to go, and if you're just going faster, well, how is that helping you? I saw a really great tweet earlier today. I'm here in Munich, Germany at the Global Scrum Gathering, and someone was talking about this exact topic, and they had a picture of traffic where there was one direction of traffic where there were about maybe 3 or 4 lanes, and there was a complete traffic jam of back-to-back bumper-to-bumper cars. And then there was a completely open lane going the other direction of about 3 or 4 lanes going the opposite way. And there were like maybe 5 or 6 cars. And so clearly the cars that are on the open road can go a lot faster. But if everyone else is going the other way, and if the place that you need to be is the other way, how does it help you to go faster in the wrong direction? So I want to challenge you to think about what it is that you want to achieve, that distant aspiration, and really get clear about it. Think about it. Take a few minutes after this presentation, and maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and just take some time for personal reflection. Think about what is it that you really want, and what is that direction? What is that goal? Because once you get clarity there, then we want to ramp up and amplify these steps that you're taking and the effort toward that. We want to become more agile and increase our speed, but you have to have the right direction first. So don't underestimate the time that it might take to sit and reflect. Now, if you're not sure, that's okay. But if you have a general idea of what you want to do, just start to look for opportunities to do a little bit more than what you do today. And every step of the way, little by little, as you start to get involved in your local community, local Agile groups, start to get involved with not-for-profit organizations, start to volunteer. The more that you involve yourself with other organizations, people, and surrounding yourself with other people that are ambitious, that can help you to get more clarity as you go along the way. So the first tip that I want to share with you today is I want to encourage you to challenge your assumptions. What are the assumptions that you are currently making that you think this is how things have to be? When we talk about an agile lifestyle and we talk about the concept of personal agility, you have to get honest with yourself first on not just clarity of what you want, but what are the assumptions, the things that you just assume are true, the things that you assume you have to accept as being true. I shared my story with you earlier because I wanted to share the contrast from every year of my life living in a cold climate to working by water, by a pool, consulting business meetings on the beach, building snowmen made out of sand. Like these are things where I didn't even realize that I could challenge those assumptions of my environment, of my climate, of where I went every day. So this is a bold step. It takes a bold step or leap in this case to jump into that new pond, that new world, that new uncomfortable realm. So I would encourage you to think about what assumptions do you just assume have to be true? What are the things that you think, you know what? I guess I just assumed that that had to be a thing, but maybe it doesn't. What if? Ask what if. So as you think about challenging assumptions, two of the most biggest assumptions that I had made that most all humans have are one, that you need a place to live. That's probably something that most people assume has to be true. And two, you own things. Like you have to you have to have a place to go home every day. You have furniture, you have a couch, you have a car. And these are two assumptions that I said, you know what? For me to make the biggest impact in the world that I yearn to make, I think I have to challenge some of the two most basic assumptions. So 3 years ago, I started selling my belongings and I got rid of my apartment in Chicago And I got one storage unit to keep a few things, memorabilia, a few extra things that didn't want to completely throw away. And so I got one storage unit, a couple of suitcases, and I began buying one-way tickets. And by challenging these assumptions that I had to have a home and had to own all this stuff and I had to put it somewhere, by challenging that, that unlocked new opportunities that I never thought possible. Now, suddenly, I can accept opportunities to speak at these conferences, to travel and train anywhere because I've lightened my expenses because I don't have to pay rent for a certain place. I can go anywhere and just, spend a few days in between here and there and truly fulfill this yearning to make an impact. Now, this is a bit radical. And by a bit radical, I think absolutely radical. I'm not saying that you should start selling your personal belongings and get rid of your home. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm simply presenting this as an example of a radical assumption that I challenge and said, be gone with it. I choose to try something different. Now start thinking about the lean startup concepts or agile concepts of the pivot, of small experiments. What is something that you could experiment on? What is something that you could take a step and then pivot on? So to lead an agile lifestyle, I want to encourage you to challenge your assumptions. What are those basic assumptions that are holding you back from that goal, from that distant aspiration, from that second ladder that you want to reach toward? Go ahead and think about that for a moment and actually type them into the chat. What are those basic assumptions that you think are holding you back from stepping into what you really want to achieve in life, in your career, in anything? In what's the lifestyle that you want? Are you spending as much time with your family as you want? Do you have any personal goals or career ambitions? Do you want to travel? Do you not want to travel? Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to start a business? What are these things that you want? But what are the basic assumptions that you currently have that are holding you back? Go ahead and think about that for a moment and type it into the chat. When you can identify where you want to go and you can identify what those assumptions are that are holding you back, that's when you can start to break through them. If you aren't honest with yourself about your current situation, and if you haven't even stopped to think about where you want to go, if you have no direction, then any way you go is going to keep you meandering through life with no direction, right? But if you can get that clarity, write it down, and then start to take incremental steps toward it and identify those small assumptions that it might be in your way, that sets you up for starting to break through that wall, to challenge those assumptions and step into whatever lifestyle you want. The agile lifestyle concept is taking short incremental steps, small incremental steps toward achieving that lifestyle, toward truly doing what you want to do, living how you want to live, and incorporating personal agility into everything that you do. Outside the workplace, beyond technology, into how you live. Imagine if you could see beyond your current path. When we're walking through life, it feels like sometimes there's uncertainty. Okay, maybe a lot of time there's uncertainty. And I remember being so confused on which direction to go when I graduated college. What job is the right job for me? What company defines me as a person? These are questions I thought, and I didn't realize that none of those things mattered. I define me as a person. You define you as a person. You can choose what you want to do. You truly can make these things happen. So I remember multiple points in my life where I felt like I had a decision point. Can you think back to decision points that you might have had that felt like it was going to alter the course of your life? And you're standing at that corner and you're like, do I go right or left? Which way do I go? Because this is going to impact the rest of my life. Think about that for a moment and type something in the chat. What were some decisions where looking back, it's clear that you either made the right decision or the wrong decision? Hindsight is 20/20, right? We can see that clearly. What were some of those pivotal decisions where you're like, man, what do I do? I even remember having a lot of anxiety around, man, which decision do I make? My life will be forever altered. And a lot of times it had to do with direction in career or possibly moving. Think about that for a minute. What were those life altering seeming decisions that at the time seemed larger than life and were such a big deal and so impactful? Now, looking back at that time, did you make the right choice? If I look back, I definitely made some choices where I decided to take the hard route. I used to make a joke. There's two ways to do things, the easy way and then the way that I usually select, which is making things way more complicated than they have to be. But what's interesting is if I truly look back, I'm kind of torn on this. Would I do anything different? Um, right now, I think yes, I would like to do a couple of things different that could have made things easier. But if I really think about where I'm at now, even throughout all the exhaustion, all of the pain, the hurt, the fear, the anxiety, the challenges, I mean, thinking about all of these real human emotions in these life altering choices and challenges, if I changed any of that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have the knowledge I have. I wouldn't have the hero's journey. They talk about the hero's journey for speakers or when telling your story. And the hero's journey is where, here's where I started. Here's the huge challenges that, knocked me down. Here's how I was able to overcome them or come back. Sometimes a double challenge or a double knockdown. Here's then what happened that was almost impossible to overcome. But here's what I learned. Here's the guru or the people that I learned from. And here's how I was able to then learn from them, incorporate that, and then become better off on my own. And that hero's journey, if I had no challenges, I wouldn't have that story. I wouldn't be able to relate to people. So, yeah, I think, man, I definitely could do a couple things differently where I could have things a little easier. But I don't know if I'd truly go back and change things because then I wouldn't have the knowledge and experience I have today. So, think about your background. I don't know. Would you go back and change stuff? Maybe. Might be okay. But how can your challenges make you stronger? That's something I want to ask you to think about. How have your challenges made you stronger? How can you use them? I've most recently had some very unanticipated challenges in life. And as I think about this path, this journey, these struggles, I've now become fully convinced that without challenge, we cannot fully have gratitude. We can't appreciate the good if you don't know the bad. If you don't know how bad it can get, if you don't know what being uncomfortable feels like, how can you truly appreciate success and comfort? And it's an interesting mindset to have, and I only recently adopted it. I definitely had the mindset of why, like why me? Why is this happening? There's people that go through challenges, and you'll hear them, and they're so inspirational, and they say, and I never asked why. I just knew there was a purpose behind this. I believed in this. But me, I absolutely asked why. I asked why all the time. Why is this happening? But now I know. Because in hindsight, without having that path, I wouldn't know what I know today. I wouldn't have that journey of discovery, of learning. And if you look at the path that you've taken and where you want to be, imagine if you could step above that maze. If you're not trying to take blind steps left or right, if you can see the bigger picture, you could truly see above the maze. Now, the ways to do this is first you get clear on your goal so you know which direction you're heading. Challenge what assumptions are holding you back, what those roadblocks are. Think of the daily stand up format that we often use with Agile teams. What have I done since yesterday? What do I plan to do today toward my goals? And what's in my way? And if you ask yourself that, if you apply that daily stand up to your daily life, you can start to truly uncover those things that could be holding you back. Now, once you figure out where you want to be, I want to challenge you to look at who are the people around you. Are you surrounding yourself with people that are at your level? Are they below your level? Or are they people that are at the level you want to be at? Because when you can surround yourself with these people that are where you want to go, that provides support and inspiration to help you get there. And they can help you. If they've already been down that path, they can help you to see above the maze, to see what dead ends you should look out for, to cut that learning curve. So, two, I want to encourage you to embrace uncertainty. So, the first tip we talked about was to challenge your own assumptions. But second, I want to challenge you to embrace some uncertainty. If you're not uncomfortable, how are you going to grow? I've been very uncomfortable every time I've taken steps to do something different, do something new. Just here in Munich, Germany, I got pulled up on stage in front of about 600 people at the Global Scrum Gathering as they were doing the Monday Mingle. There was a German band playing. The singer came down, dragged me up on stage, and said, "We're going to lead everyone through a German local," it's like a song, it's like a historical or custom. How to say, it's a cultural type of thing. And so they're like, here's the hand gestures. Please help us lead this entire crowd. And someone posted a video online on Twitter, and when looking at it, I can't believe all of these people literally doing the exact same hand gestures that we are in perfect synchronization of hundreds of people. Now, is that uncomfortable? Yeah, the first time you get up in front of that many people, it's very uncomfortable. But if you're not willing to take the risk and step outside of your comfort zone, how are you going to achieve great things? How are you going to get to your goals? How are you going to lead that agile lifestyle? So by embracing uncertainty and the uncomfortability that comes with stepping outside your comfort zone, you can start to achieve things that you may have never thought possible. So imagine being in front of a crowd of 600 people and having everyone there know who you are. Can you now share your ideas? Can you now ask for help? Can you now build your network out more? But if you don't embrace uncertainty, oh my gosh, what will happen if I do this? What will happen if I take this step? What if I don't do it right? What if I mess up? If you don't embrace that uncomfortability, how can you grow? So, this is where I want to encourage you to take the risk. Become more open to trying new things. If you do what you've always done, you're probably going to get the risks or the results that you've always gotten. I think I used to be very risk averse. I used to have the same routine. I didn't want to try new things, even down to food. I want to eat what I want to eat. I want to eat what I like. I don't want to try anything new. I want to go where I want to go. I want to hang out with my same friends. But that's not going to help you to get to that grand that grand goal, that aspiration. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to, I like this picture here, walk along a tiny tightrope that's being held by someone and blindfolded. I'm not necessarily saying you need to go that extreme, but what are some small risks that you could take in a safe environment? When I first started speaking, I began going to Toastmasters because it was a safe environment. It's an international organization that isn't designed for you to take risks, to get in front of people in a safe environment with a community where people are going to help you. They're going to give constructive feedback, and you can iterate every time you speak. So as you determine, where is it I want to go, and you start to embrace uncertainty, think about, what risks could you take? What are some risks that, what? This could completely fail, or this could help me, and this could help me get closer to my goal. Because if you think about the agile mindset, where fail equals learn, and we want to fail early and fail often, that's truly going to help us to get somewhere we never thought possible. That's where innovation lies, in rapid experimentation. And that's the whole concept behind business agility, personal agility, right? So think about, are you playing it too safe? What's a small risk you could take? I'm not saying get rid of your home and travel the world on one-way tickets. I'm not saying do that. I'm just saying, what's a risk you could take to get you closer to your personal goals? So take the risk, but take the risk out. Put a net underneath that tightrope. If you can do a release plan, a roadmap, if you can see a little bit further out than just the next sprint or whatever cadence you're planning in, a week of your life, a month of your life, if you can take a calculated risk, if you can surround yourself with people that have done it before, if you can align yourself, if you can pair with people, take the risk, but take the risk out. Earlier this year, I had an incredible opportunity to actually help at the Heart of Agile conference in Philly at the Monday evening event. So Alistair Coburn has been talking about getting back to the heart of Agile, which is simply collaborate, deliver, reflect, and improve. There's all of these huge frameworks out there, and people are making these complex, here's how to scale, here's the rule book for this, the Agile box, Scrum box for that, and we don't really need all of that. And I had a privilege of training with Alistair Coburn, and he has this powerful statement where he'll say, when I wrote the Agile Manifesto, or when we wrote the Agile Manifesto and put it together, when we were talking about the values in the Agile Manifesto as we wrote it, you can't argue with that, right? Like, here's what we were thinking, and here was the intent. And what I've learned from Alistair is really about how to challenge things. He has a phrase he'll say, how do you cheat legally? Like, how do you break the rules, bend the rules? Not break them, but bend them. How do you push to the boundary and really step into the space of innovation? How do we take those assumptions and push them to the edge? But really now, how do we get back to the heart of Agile, where you collaborate, deliver, and reflect and improve, and stick to the simplicity of what it is we're trying to do here? So at the Heart of Agile conference earlier this year, Alistair invited me to speak on Agile marketing. So I did the lunch keynote presentation on Agile marketing, where we've been exploring Agile applied outside of IT. And we pulled a lot of these learnings together in the Agile Marketing Academy. You can find more about that at agilemarketingacademy.com. And what happened was Alistair forgot to book evening entertainment. And if you know Alistair loves dancing. He has a zest for life that you rarely see in people. And he asked my friend Nick and I to DJ at the conference. Now, Nick Cementa, who's also one of the co-founders of the Agile Marketing Academy and helped me put together that curriculum, he has a strong background in marketing and advertising. And he used to run a creative incubator in Chicago. It was a creative collaborative community where he would bring together startup companies. It's like an incubator, and he'd bring together people that were in the arts, that were in music, that he would then go and pitch large advertising campaigns to large corporate entities and give these local artists a venue for their voice. And it was just absolutely incredible, the stuff they were able to create and how creative and innovative that they were, truly agile in the things that they came up with. And so Nick had a background in helping do these creative things, into running events, having music, entertainment, local artists. And so Nick had a little bit of a background in sound and events and DJing, and he knew that a lot more than I did. So the idea of just DJing sounds cool, right? And then at a corporate conference, why not? And so I was on a back-to-back string of training. I had a 3-day class in Chicago. We were doing Agile sales training class for a client in the south suburbs. Then I had a class that booked that weekend in DC. It was a certified Scrum Master class for IBM. Now, they had originally also asked for a class in Chicago that Thursday, Friday, but they ended up saying, oh, let's reschedule that. So I was like, okay, cool. I have 3 days in Chicago, a couple days training on the weekend in Virginia, DC area. No problem. I can do that. Well, then IBM came back and said, we'd like to do a class Thursday, Friday in Chicago. Do you still have the dates available? I was like, oh, man. Yes, I have the dates available, but I'm going back-to-back trainings. Let me see, what could I do here? So I was like, all right. So I can easily go from the south suburbs to downtown, and then I have to fly out Friday night and then teach Saturday morning in DC. So the natural idea that came to mind was, I need to pair. So I invited other trainers, some of my other trainers, to collaborate with me and co-train on these classes that gave me a break so I could teach half of the classes. Now, after the 3 days of training in Chicago, Monday through Wednesday, the 2 days, Thursday, Friday, and then the weekend class in DC, Saturday, Sunday, let's just say I was a little bit tired. And so we drove from DC to Philly for the Heart of Agile conference that started Monday, and then I spoke that Monday. Now, we'll talk about sustainable pace later. However, sometimes everything hits at once. And you have to be ready for the opportunity at times and look at how can I scale? How can I be smarter about this? How can I take the risk out? So by pairing, I was able to get through this week of this many classes in so many cities. And Nick had meanwhile been practicing and setting up our DJ queue and all the songs and got the controller. Meanwhile, needless to say, I had no time to practice. I was literally training back to back up until this event. And when I flew in or drove into Philly the next day after my presentation, the first time I ever DJ'd was live on stage with Nick. Now, pair DJing is the way to go because then I can leverage the expertise of someone around me. Now, since then, we practiced a little bit more. Nick got us a standing gig in St. Pete, Florida, in the warehouse district. And I just had the amazing opportunity to DJ here in Munich, Germany, last night at the Global Scrum Gathering. And this is where preparedness meets opportunity. So as you're thinking about stepping toward that new aspiration, that goal that you want, take risk, but take the risk out. You can take the risk out by pairing, by finding someone that's already done what it is you want to do, by putting that safety net underneath that tightrope. So I want to encourage you to get creative. Think about what is this amazing goal, this aspiration that I don't even know if I can even do it, and start to take the steps toward it and look for ways to take the risk out. Have you ever heard of the Fattier change model? The Fattier change model is a model that really stands the test of time when you look at how people respond to change and how to truly understand change. When you look at performance over time, you have a status quo. You have something that you've been doing in the way that you work, in your lifestyle. You have things that you've done, and that's your status quo. That's how things are happening. What does it look like from day to day? What is it that you do every day, every week, every month? Your status quo is a series of steps, of habits that you formed, of steps that you take. Now, whenever we have change, often people resist that change. And when a foreign element is introduced, that can lead to chaos. We often resist change. Now, you might think, oh no, I'm open to change. But what if it's a change that you didn't invite? What if you lost your job tomorrow? Would that cause any chaos? Would you wonder how you can feed your family, pay your bills? Probably. So when you have a foreign element or change that you haven't invited or accepted, then that's when we start to get uncomfortable. That's when we start to have chaos. So think about those challenges in your life. Was it ever a response to change? Was it ever something that you didn't anticipate? Or was it taking a bold step that caused that chaos? For me, when I started my own business, I remember being thrust into the pits of chaos. I remember having that foreign element that, there were so many unknowns. I don't have a steady paycheck. I have to find business. This is uncomfortable. Now, as the Fattier change model goes, as you follow this through integration and practice, when you have that transforming idea on how the change can work for you, that's when you can hit a new status quo that is far better than where you've ever been before. So when you're going through across time and you have something that changes, when you have something that's uncomfortable, I want to encourage you not to get discouraged and not to run from it. Don't shy away from it. When change either happens to you or you're trying to make a change, think of the Fattier change model. Think of that status quo change, and without that foreign element or that change, you cannot reach that new status quo. If nothing changes, nothing changes. I'd like to quote my friend Brandon James Duncan on this one. He says this all the time. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. But what we're trying to say here is that if you don't make that change, if you don't take that step, then you're not going to achieve that new plateau, that new thing that you want. So in an agile lifestyle, we need to embrace uncertainty. We need to be open to opportunity and realize that change is just going to help us to get to that new status quo and achieve the things that we always wanted to achieve. So know that there will be chaos, expect some chaos, and just keep stepping forward, knowing that that's going to help you get to where you want to be. The third point I'd like to share with you is create the opportunity. Don't just wait for opportunity to find you. When preparation meets opportunity is when you can make magic happen. Start to take the steps toward that goal. Start to put these things in place. And you know what? Go out there and create the opportunity. One of the best ways to do this, to step toward a goal, is to start talking about it. Speak it into existence. I'm not even kidding. This is a real thing. I started talking about wanting to be a professional speaker. Yeah, I'm Maria Matarelli. I'm currently, coaching in Chicago, doing training. I'm so excited. I'm going to be an amazing speaker someday. I'm doing it now. I'm going to be a speaker. I am a speaker. I am a speaker, right? So you got to go through the I want to, one day I will, to I am this now. And as I started talking about that, guess what happened? People started saying, "Oh, hey, we need a speaker for this. Maria, would you like to speak?" Yes, I would love to speak, because I started letting people know that was my intention. Now, with my latest hobby, DJing, I just talk about DJing. And you know what? These opportunities are presenting themselves. I was in Singapore just a mere 2 weeks ago, and I was talking to the global the Scrum Alliance, the PR team, and I was talking to them, and they were saying, "Hey, are you going to be in Munich?" And I was telling them about DJing, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come and DJ at the conference?" I was like, "Okay, I'd love to do that," but no one would have ever known that that's something I wanted to do if I didn't talk about it. Now, here in Munich, I was DJing last night, and a local community member, Paolo from Tuscany, Italy, came up, who also DJs, and said, "Hey, would you like to DJ in Italy?" Yes, yes, I would. Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. And he started pair DJing with me. It was one of the coolest things ever. So when you start talking about what it is you want to do and you create the intention, that's going to allow you to make that idea reality. So remember to challenge assumptions. If you want to have an agile lifestyle and you want to incorporate agile into everything you do, challenge the assumptions that are holding you back. I want to also encourage you to embrace uncertainty. What are the things that might be uncomfortable, but are those steps in the right direction? Is it getting in front of people? Is it speaking? Is it taking a risk? And third, create the opportunity. Make the opportunity happen. So you can do anything you want to do by applying Agile to your life, by identifying the goal and taking small incremental steps toward that goal. Let's talk quickly about company engagement models. There's three models: natives, ninjas, and mercenaries. And I'm just going to highlight these briefly for you. I went native once working at a company where I had a simple mindset of I need to do what they say I need to do. I need to follow the process. But when you go native at a company and you're just thinking about the processes, you're boxing yourself in. You're pretty limited. And you don't open yourself up to opportunity because you're simply taking the status quo at face value. And when you go native in a company, you get sucked into drama. You don't have a bigger sight of any bigger picture. You get sucked into all the details of things that might not matter. Now, as a ninja, you're one step back. You're one step removed where you don't get bogged down in drama and details. As a ninja, you are someone who's seeing the bigger picture. You're able to ask curious questions. What is the problem we're trying to solve? What is it we really want to accomplish here? And you're a bit more agile in how you operate. Now, mercenary, that's like a hired gun. That's like a true consultant, where you go where the highest bidder is. And I became a mercenary for a while and still might be today. But you just fly wherever is needed, go take the job, do the work, get in, get out, get done. But the challenge with that is that you don't really truly have an opportunity to connect with people. So when you look at this engagement model of natives, ninjas, and mercenaries, I really think that ninja is the right place to be. You don't want to be too far to the native side where you get sucked into the details and drama, and mercenary might be a little bit too big of a contrast where you're just going in, going out, doing the job, getting it done, moving on. Highest bidder, pay me, I'm done. Ninja, being agile, being flexible is the mindset you want to have as you go throughout the things that you do. So, as you start to step into this agile lifestyle and challenge assumptions, embrace uncertainty, and create the opportunity, this is where I want to encourage you to think about applying personal agility. I had the opportunity to talk with Peter Stevens, who has been socializing this concept of what matters, what's important, and what is urgent. And when you think about personal agility, these are the questions that are really at the core of it. So to live an agile lifestyle, inviting personal agility into everything you do can truly help you to reflect and make these things possible. So you need to believe in yourself for all this stuff to happen. And in order to take these steps, these bold steps, I just want to leave you with these words. The dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. So believe in yourself. You can have the dream. It doesn't cost you anything to have the dream, but you have to put in the work. You have to put in the hustle. But when you put all of these things together, when you put all of these parts together, it's all going to help you take those small iterative steps toward achieving that agile lifestyle. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. We wanted to run this webinar to encourage people to think about agility beyond the workplace. Think about how to live an agile lifestyle. And there's going to be an amazing conference in India coming up in December, December 18th, brought to you by the India Scrum community for Agility Beyond Workplace. And this is specifically going to be a Women in Agile event. And if you want to learn more about having an agile lifestyle and personal agility, I'm very excited to be giving an opening keynote at this event. And we're going to explore all of the ways that you can make your dreams a reality through personal agility. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure being here today. You can find out more about this upcoming conference at indiascrumcommunity.com. And please join us, follow me online, connect with me on Twitter, reach out, tweet. Would love to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to go ahead and we're reaching the end of our presentation time box. I'm going to see if we have any questions that people would like to have answered here. Oh, wow. I'm seeing a lot of amazing goals and dreams here. So having that iterative manner, starting my own business, Anand, public speaker and mentor, Sandeep, dreaming to roam around the world one day with no tension of arrangements to do so, Akshar. We have FDA inspector, communication, time, being an entrepreneur, figuring out how to begin, having a son as a single mom, setting a goal, making steps to reach on your goals. Wow, these are incredible. Oh, thank you so much for the comments. A very thoroughly thought-provoking session. That's absolutely the intent. Thank you, Sundari-san. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I don't see any specific questions. I see a lot of incredible goals that you have been listing here. I see a lot of amazing locations. We've got Dubai, Mumbai, several other places throughout Italy. I'm sorry, India. Where am I in the world? Thank you everyone so much for joining us. Please stay connected. Reach out to me on Twitter, share more of your thoughts, and let's continue this conversation. So hashtag Agile Lifestyle, hashtag personal agility. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue our conversations. We will make the webinar recording available if you'd like to share it with someone else, or if you'd like to come back and listen to it again and think through some of these thought-provoking questions. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Maria Matarelli signing off now.